Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. Time today for part 2 of my collection, after the first one was pretty well received from my old Wizards of the Coast English stuff. Today we're going to be looking at some foreign cards, mainly Japanese stuff, some old promos going on here, a handful of set cards as well. I've never really taken Japanese collecting all that seriously. There's just been a handful of sets here and there that I've personally found fun to collect and whatnot, so a lot more gappy than the previous parts where I have a very specific goal in mind for the English collection, and here it's just me sort of picking up bits and bobs which I found interesting. But again, it's a great insight into my collection and all that good stuff, and there's some good stories here around some of these cards. So I'm going to pull over some of the first things here. This is going to be my CD promo collection. I think this is some of the first ever PSA cards that I started buying. Way back when I was like 14 or so. This was really like entry level of PSA grading because it's a nice little mini set. I think there's literally 5 cards to collect from this set, and they were all pretty easy to acquire back then. Since then they have got a little bit more expensive, as with everything in the hobby, but yeah, the CD promos, they have a lot of appeal to them. They've got the starter trio evolutions in them with some great artwork. Basically the artwork that you would see on the front boxes of the games way back when. So an awesome little mini set to try and complete here. You can see there's a lightning bolt symbol on the top right corner here, signify that they are CD promos. So we have ourselves the Venusaur, we have Charizard. These are all in a Gem Mint 10 here. Beautiful artwork in the Blastoise. I think my favorite of the 3. Just the awesome yellow sparkly background. I've again tried to get some light on it so you can see it really nicely there, and you can literally see like it almost looks like flames coming out of the cannons, but it's like they're raring up, ready to start shooting, which is awesome. And then we've got the cool Porygon artwork from the CD promo, as well as the Snorlax. And this guy shouldn't be here, but yeah, this is one of the Game Boy promos. I think I have another Game Boy promo somewhere. Yeah, I do actually have another Game Boy promo. That's just a duplicate of the Venusaur there. Just as they're to hand, I've got only a couple of the Game Boy promos, the 2 that I really think are stellar. The Dragonite and the Mewtwo. Mewtwo's only in a 9, unfortunately, and really for Japanese cards, if they're in a 9, there's actually like something wrong with them, basically, because the printing quality of Japanese cards just seems so much superior to the printing of English cards. I don't know why that is. It just has always been the case. So I'm trying to get 10s in Japanese cards at least, because yeah, it's pretty weak to get them in 9s, to be honest. There'll be an actual like bit of whitening somewhere, but when it's a Mewtwo like this, who really cares that much? I really like this artwork, actually, one of my favorites, where it seems like he's like in the power plant. Kind of reminds me of like the anime Mewtwo himself, which is really awesome. And amazing sparkle on the Dragonite as well. So nice little couple. There are a couple more Game Boy promos for these cards. I think there's a Lugia as well, which is awesome. But whoops, I'll drop the box. It's a little bit more expensive, and it's one of those things that I'll just pick up here and there when I get the chance. I'm really not that active at trying to find these Japanese cards. They're just sort of, when I see the chance and they're at the right price, I'll pick them up here and there, but nothing too serious on them. We'll move on to the magazine promos. This is actually a really awesome set of cards that I've been able to pick up. I actually got a bunch of these all at once. It's one of those things where I never really had the intention of going for these cards, but when they just came up at a price that they were at, and when there was so many of them all at once, I was like, man, I should really pick these up because they're awesome. So the Trainers magazine. So these cards are really interesting because they came up in sort of trios. You'll notice when we go through all of these, like you can see the Vaporeon here, you can actually see the feet of the Flareon and the Jolteon. So they sort of like make up a picture all together. So the Flareon like is in this top corner, and you can see Jolteon's like foot there. So like when we see the Jolteon, you'll see that there's a bit of crossover between them. So there's the Vaporeon and there's the Jolteon, and you can see the flames of the Flareon. So if you actually like kind of put them together, it's actually really hard with PSA cases, obviously, that's going to cover all of them, but you can see how there would be like a crossover of the leg into the next picture, and then if there wasn't a case going on here, you could see that the pictures here would cross over as well. So it's a nice little like picture of all 3 of them in one here, which is pretty cool. And that's pretty much how the magazines took that sort of route here, where they're having 3 pictures of different Pokemon that they just choose and sort of merge them to one. So in this next 3 volumes, it was Slowpoke, Slowbro, and Slowking. This is probably like the least obvious that they're all sort of like merging into one. This one may not even be merging, but there are a couple that definitely are, and the Flareon's definitely got that going on. We've got the Bayleaf, and it's really rare that you'll see middle evolutions get a chance at the spotlight, but the magazine promos were pretty unique at being able to do that, which is awesome. It's got the the Quilava and the Croconaw as well. And then we have, again, the 3 middle evolutions, stage 1s of the original base guys. With some sort of sandy background going on, an awesome Charmeleon there. And a little Wartortle. And then some of the most iconic ones are the legendary bird trio. Got the Articuno, oh sorry, the Moltres, what am I talking about? Moltres, Articuno. I think I said Articuno just first because it literally starts with Uno, but it's yeah, the second in this sort of magazine lot. And then the Zapdos is the last of the 3. One of my personal favourite is onto the Dragonite artwork, where we have the awesome Dratini wrapping itself around like the treetops with all these clouds, which is awesome. And we've got the Dragonair and an awesome Dragonite as well. These sorts of artworks just never really came out in UK cards, well, English cards. The final 3 I have, unfortunately one of them is a Mint 9 instead of a Gem Mint 10. And there's also another trio that I need to actually complete the Trainer Magazine set. So this is the Tyranitar EX line, and the Tyranitar is unfortunately the 9 of the whole lot here. But there's also an Imakuni's Exploud, Loudred, and Whismur that I need to also pick up as well to complete the Trainer Magazine collection. But that's a really good chunk, and it's like all the e-reader part is at least complete, and the Exploud line is similar to the Tyranitar, where it's the more modern card borders. We'll move on to the VS series. You can see my background, which I've already tried to knock on the floor already. It's the VS series. I've opened a box of each of these. So I have been able to complete the set. Same as last time, I've got a handful of things in sleeves and top loaders, as well as all these PSA slabs. This is an awesome set. And again, it's one of those things where I was able to acquire them while they were still sort of under the radar, and they've grown in value since then, which is awesome because I've got a huge amount of these. So the booster packs, I think I actually have them in here. The booster packs of the VS series is really weird. The whole box only contains 10 packs, but they're packs of like 20 or 30 cards, I think, that was in each pack. So really large, thick, chunky packs that you would get with these. And it would be like a bunch of energy cards. They're almost like tiny, like mini theme decks, basically, like 20 card pack theme decks. That's what you would get. And in every one of those packs, you were guaranteed a holo. So essentially, in each box, you would get 10 holos. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. There's going to be a lot of duplicates here, but I'll rush through them. We have Faulkner's Skarmory, similar to like the gym sets where they would have a trainer on the artwork as well. So I've got some excess Skarmories there, 3 more 10s. So this box, the Grass and Lightning one, strangely enough, this one here is the one that had metal holographics in them. And then there's one, I think the Psychic Fighting box here was the one that had dark holographics in them. I think this is the one that has Rockets holos in them, Karen's one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it was really weird that for some reason we would just get like metal holos in a box that came with, like, it was being advertised as Grass and Lightning. It's a really strange dynamic. I don't know how they got around it, but yeah. Bugsy's Scizor, a couple of those. We've got Murkrow, unfortunately... Oh no, one's a 10 and one's a 9. Again, it's very rare. I got these all straight out of packs, so it's strange to see some not getting 10s, but that was the case for a few of them. We've got a Jasmine Steelix. Pretty nice holo, actually. There's a couple Steelix from this set. This one, I think, is my favourite of the two, because it has some nice boulders in the background, making it quite bright. This is where I'm a little upset, because I got 3 Price's Sneasels, but they all came back 9s, which really sucks. I mean, Price's Sneasel isn't the hardest of the bunch to acquire. It's not the most desired of them all, but it's a bit of a shame to send 3 in and all get 9s. It's just the lucky dip you take when opening packs, of course. There is the Bruno Steelix. I actually only have 1 of Bruno Steelix. Fortunate enough to get that from the box. And then we have... how many of these do I have? Karen's Tyranitar. A very nice fan favourite one, really. I also have 2 in 9s. It's one of those things where I probably should get around to selling some of this stuff, but I just never really do. Karen's Umbreon is probably like the most iconic from the set. A lot of people will know Karen's Umbreon, even if they're not fully aware of the VS series. Really awesome artwork. Got 1 in a 10, and unfortunately 3 came back as 9s. I might try and regrade some of these, to be honest, because there's such a big spike in value between a 9 and a 10, and these are all very, very close contenders for 10s. I've looked at them a number of times thinking they might be worth a shout of a regrade. Then we go on to the Rocket stuff. A couple of Rockets. Wobbuffets. Very interesting artwork with the big R in the background. Then we have 3 Rockets Raikus in 10s. We have ourselves a couple Entei's and ones back here as a 9 as well. Rockets Entei, really nice having the contrast of the blue, and there's like a shadowy figure in the background. Pretty awesome. Strange seeing a fire Pokemon with like a blue background. They've done the same thing here with the Suicune. They've sort of given him a red background, which is really interesting to see. Rocket Suicune, not all that easy to see, but it is holographic. There's a little bit of sparkle there. I got 3 of those as well. And you could also get a holographic energy in every one of the packs. So I basically have 30 holographic energy. 10 of them are dark, 10 of them are metal, 10 of them are rainbows. So I've so far graded 3. Obviously they're energies, so it's a lot less of a priority to get these graded. But they're actually some of the most hardest cards to grade because there's just so much holographic sparkle on them. And I've actually only got 1 that's come back in the 10, which is the dark energy. And I've got the metal and the rainbow both in 9s, which kind of sucks. I've got a bunch more that I can send off, so I've got a 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th chance to get one of these in 10. It's a shame that I picked out ones that weren't 10s. I thought I had a pretty good eye for this sort of stuff, but yeah, for whatever reason there may have just been some surface scratching on either of these. Just so much potential on the front for these to get points taken away from them from PSA, which makes sense at the end of the day, but yeah. A few other cards. Here is just a quick sneak peek at all those holos that I have. So these are all the spare energy cards. This can be hard to do at an angle when there's so many, but yeah, just all the excess ones. So maybe I get around to grading all of these. Maybe I'll just grade another metal and another rainbow until I get a 10. But yeah, I've just got a bunch of those lying around. There's also a handful of the non-holos that actually do carry some value and have great artwork from this set. I don't know, because obviously I've opened a box of each, I do have the full set of non-holos and stuff as well. They've all been sleeved as soon as opened from the box. This is, even though it's like 10 years ago now, they've just, they've stayed mint condition, they've not really moved at all. And I picked out some of the ones that have more gradable value just out the gate, but I may end up grading the entire set of the Versus series again. There's just some fantastic artworks. The Lance, the Karen's Blastoise, Lance's Dragonite as well. These are some of the ones that people like picking up as well, so it's one of those things where if I grade them, I know I have some resale value. Those are the 2 holos that I'm eyeing up to get graded next, I guess. Then there's a couple of promo ones. This is from, I think it was a movie half deck, this Tyranitar. I think it's a Rockets Tyranitar. This is hopefully rounding out the VS Series set, and there's also this Rockets Sizzle as well. I think this is just, unfortunately, not good enough to grade. It has a little speck in the bottom right corner. So I wouldn't actually grade this one, so I'm probably looking for another Sizzle as well to round out the set. Obviously, I've completed it from, physically from these cards, but there are a couple VS Series promos that I want to try and use to fill out the sets. But the Versus Series is definitely one that is awesome. I think it epitomizes Japanese collecting like really nicely. A lot of history behind the cards and a lot of unique artworks for even the non-holos. Similar to like SP Pokemon, where you have lots of evolutions in all of the packs, so you get some real nice heavy hitters and artworks that you've not already seen them before, which is really awesome. Let me try and grab these out of the way. That's such a big lump of them. I'm going to have to do it in a couple trips. While we move on to the 10th movie commemoration promos. Another bunch of promo cards that I like. Like I said, I don't really have a direction with Japanese cards. It's just random promos that have caught my eye over the years, basically. And the 10th movie commemoration is all legendaries, and they're all really, really awesome. So I bought the little commemoration pack ages ago, sent off each individual one for grading straight away. Didn't come back all 10s, which is a shame, but I think it's actually how they package them. It was in like a little black, kind of like a binder, but not really a binder. It was more sort of like a cardboard binder. So they were sort of inserted into like the little holes for each of the correct Pokemon or whatever. But it actually means that they're pretty difficult to grade, all things considered, for Japanese cards. So there are a smattering of 9s in here, unfortunately. But the artworks themselves from this set is just absolutely glorious. Like, really amazing cards. Got a 10 on the Lugia, but the one I got myself was unfortunately an 8. So I've upgraded it since then, which is nice. Been able to pick up this one in a 10. Lugia being one of the sort of flagship cards from the little mini sets. My Latios was labelled as a Lugia for some reason, and it also got a 9, so I'm looking to upgrade this one as well. But yep. And then my Latias was labelled incorrectly from PSA. It was called Alto Mares Latios, which is incorrect. But it still has the 10th movie commemoration, but this is definitely not an Alto Mares Latios, so that's a completely different card that you can look up. I wish I did have that card. We've got a Darkrai holding like a mystery berry type thing, which is pretty interesting. We've got a Manaphy. Got ourselves the Lucario, which is awesome. Lucario is one of my favourite Pokemon. It's got the Aura Sphere charging up. It's got a lovely wide-eyed sort of Mew with a beautiful background of clouds and sunlight and stuff. It's awesome. Got Deoxys. The majority of these did come back as 10s, to be fair. Just a couple unfortunate labeling issues, which is a shame to see when you're sending these cards off and you're waiting for them for months. But it's one of those things that happens here and there. And the Mewtwo as well, an awesome Mewtwo. Another one of my favourite Pokemon. Some great... Again, it feels like he's in that sort of lab environment where you can see like test tubes in the background and he's just emerging from there. Pretty awesome little mini set there. And what are we going to move on to? Let's move on to... I guess I'll round out my PSA stuff. So I've got a bunch of stuff that's not in PSA cases, but these are just, again, sort of like miscellaneous. I keep reiterating the fact that I've just picked up random cards here and there for Japanese that have caught my eye. And it's one of those things where I buy one and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try and complete the set, and never really remember or get around to it. This is actually a really interesting story. This is a German Bisaflor from when I was 13 or something, and I was fanboying someone else who had done PSA return videos on YouTube. Picked this up off of a sale video that he did on YouTube for £20 back in the day, and now German Venusaur first edition from base is probably in the hundreds, which is pretty insane. How it's just a throwaway card that I bought just because it was YouTube fanboying way back in the day, and now it's worth a lot of money, which is just really random. Do you call yourself a real collector if you don't have one of these? Everyone's got to have an Ancient Mew. This is the later edition, the 2 copy. I think the differences in how the sparkle is. I actually can't remember the difference between version 1 and version 2. It might also be to do with the text at the bottom here, the actual English text that you have. I bunched this in with my Japanese stuff. I know it's not Japanese really, but I thought it's just a promo that I may as well show off. A random Pokemon Magazine Misdreavus that I literally got given when I was buying other PSA cards. It was literally thrown in. A Korokoro Shining Mew is one that everyone has to have a hold of as well. This is a card that just looks phenomenal in person. You can see the glitter is all over the card, and it's a holo that's unlike any other holo, really. It really is a gorgeous, gorgeous bit of sparkle on there. The camera's actually picking it up really nicely to give you a good effect of how the Shining Mew looks, and it is a glorious card for sure. Junior Rally is another set that I really do love. It's got a Mewtwo in there, it's got a few other big heavy hitters, some legendaries going on. At the moment, I've just picked up a p.2 randomly in an auction, but it's a mini project that I'll maybe try and do one day. This Celebi, this is when I was trying to explore grades of cards. This is obviously an excellent 5. I wanted to pick up like one of each grade of cards, and there just happened to be the Celebi, and you know, beautiful artwork and stuff. Why not pick it up? But yeah, it was when I was sort of new to PSA, and I was trying to distinguish between a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, and a 10. And I was looking for a few different examples, and this just happened to be the 5 that I picked up. Again, just one of these random like auction kind of holos, this Blaine's Moltres. I actually have opened a box of Japanese Gym 2, which you'll see in a sec. So yeah, I actually have another one of these, I think, that I'll be sending off at some point. But nice 10 there, and then a very random Ho-Oh. It's just one of those things where sometimes, way back in the day, auctions like this, like I'm pretty sure I got this for like below grading price, and it feels like when it's going to be a legendary Pokemon as well in a Gem Mint 10, if it's below grading price, it felt like it was worth picking up. At least that was my first reaction. Obviously, it's much harder to scour eBay these days. It's a lot more populated with collectors, especially for PSA cards, but a few years ago it was pretty barren. And you could get some steals here and there. Another nice mini set that I love is the Southern Islands set. I'm going to try and get this all graded. This is the Japanese Southern Islands set, so the holographic is different to the other Southern Islands set, the English one. It's actually like real, sort of more modern reverse foil, whereas the English reverse foils are more sort of like bubbly and as if it was like real holo on a card. So the Japanese reverses are very different from the English Southern Islands reverses, but still beautiful cards. I really like the pictures that you get. Literally, the best thing about the Southern Islands set you get is actually like the little Japanese postcards that you get within the set itself, because as you'll see, similar to the those 3 evolutions that we were talking about, you can see that the Pidgeot, the Onix, like the Onix is in the background of this Pidgeot, and then the Mew has the other wing of the Pidgeot as well. These would make essentially a postcard picture, which was awesome to see, and you'll see that for all of these as well. There's the Reverse Holo Togepi, there's the Ivysaur, there's the Raticate, got the Ledybur. I can't remember the names of all of them. There's like Sky, Ocean, and a few other names for the actual like 3 card sets that these came in. But they all make up one. One of my favorites is the Tentacruel, mainly for the Dragonite that you have chilling in the background. This is a great one as well, Marill with a Magikarp. Got the Lapras, got the Lickitung, got a couple Vileplumes, got an Angry Primeape, as per usual. We got Wartortle and Horsey doing a water gun contest. We've got an amazing... See, this is such... Man, like, when I think Southern Islands, this is the card that springs to my mind immediately. The Slowking with some palm leaves, just waving them around with a little... what's it called? Psyduck getting squirted by the two water types on the side. Such an awesome card. Then we've got a couple Exeggutor as well. So yeah, if even if you don't like the cards, looking up those Southern Islands... postcards, man, those are amazing. I actually want to get the postcards framed as well, just for like artwork in my like bedroom or something, because they really are iconic and awesome. Let's move on to some set cards, I guess. So I've opened a box of Japanese Jungle Japanese Neogenesis and Japanese Gym 2, which is Gym Challenge. So I've got a handful of these in top loaders and a handful in the Ultra Pro semi-rigids. I've put these ones in semi-rigids. I've essentially had the idea of grading 2 of every one to complete the set, if I have 2 of them at least, and then multiple of the ones that I feel like are like more iconic from the set. So, for example, the Scyther here, I've got as many Scythers as I could just to take out because he's kind of like poster boy of jungle. And then for like evolutions, I've pulled as many as I can from the box themselves. The Flareon, the Jolteon, and Vaporeon. All awesome cards and artworks from jungle. I think currently Japanese holos are being like fairly underrated cards. Obviously, these haven't been graded just yet. But when you're picking up artworks themselves, and obviously that's what this mainly is about, Japanese cards do just look absolutely gorgeous. The holo on these cards look phenomenal. And I think they'll start picking up more sort of attraction from PSA and stuff soon as people start sending them in. I feel like there's a lot of people holding on to a lot of Japanese cards similar to myself because, you know, from a box you get 60 holos, so you actually get like a huge amount of these cards. You basically always complete the set if you buy a box, and that was never the case when you buy English. You will never complete the set if you just buy one English box of, say, Jungle, because there's more than 12 holos to collect, obviously, and sometimes you get duplicates. Whereas if you're buying a Japanese box, you'll basically always complete the set. There's a handful here where I only got one copy of, like the Kangaskhan and the Snorlax. So even in some situations, you won't complete the set, but it's basically guaranteed that you will. And I'm just going to basically talk while I show off again, because these are ones that you've seen before, but more sort of duplicates here and there. So yeah, it feels like there'll be some Japanese cards coming out of the woodwork soon for PSA, because basically when someone can be bothered, it's an extra 60 that goes straight on the market, which is pretty interesting. I have the intention of, like I said, sending off like 2 copies of each if I complete the set for myself, and then have spares to like sell on. It means I could sort of like continue a chain of like essentially paying for my next grading. That's pretty much the mini goal I have set for myself. That I can get into this chain of grading for my own collection and then reselling and then grading the next part of my collection and reselling the spares. That's pretty much the goal I have, and it's a really easy goal with Japanese cards because you get such a big excess. It's going to be my Gym Challenge, one of my favorite sets in English and in Japanese. It's just these cards. Oh man, this Arcanine just always gets me. One of my favorite artworks, this Blaine's Arcanine. Such an awesome card. The Blaine's Charizard as well. I was able to pick up 3 or 4 of, which is awesome. There's the Moltres that I've already got in a 10, but I would send off an extra one there. Rocket's Mewtwo and Rocket's Zapdos being some of the, again, most popular cards from the set. And then I've just got the 2 ofs of like every other holo from the set, just so I can complete it in PSA grading. I don't really have a goal of completing all the Japanese sets, but from the boxes that I've opened, it would seem silly to not get these graded because they're all basically pack fresh, haven't been touched or anything since I've opened up those boxes. So I'm pretty convinced that they will basically, as long as I screen them all for any random edgeware that they would pick up just from the pack itself, or if their borders are stronger on one side to the other, that would be the only reason why any of these wouldn't get 10s. And again, just more and more from this box. Amazing set, really. Gym Heroes, one of my favorites. Just one of those things when you can see Pokemon being depicted in a very different way, it's always very appealing. Lots of spares going on here. All sorts. I think I opened some loose packs as well of these way back when, so if any of you are counting as I go through all this, it'll be over 60 cards in total for the gym stuff. But you'll see I've bunched together a bunch. It gives you a good bit of perspective of how unrare the Japanese holos are compared to the English ones. Like, it would be unheard of to just flick through this many English holos of one set. well, it would. Some people will, but it's much more difficult to acquire that many English holos compared to Japanese ones. And then we have the final one, which is the Neo Genesis set. I don't really know why I bought these, looking back at it now, because it is sort of like distraction from my main goal. But I think it's just one of those things where you haven't opened a box in a while, and then you just see the Japanese ones, and it's like, yeah, go on then. I feel like that's generally what my attitude was to these. Lugia, an awesome card. I remember basically fighting with my cousins over a holo Japanese Lugia way back when. Probably really beaten up at this point. That card, not me. The fight's not still ongoing over that Lugia. Bunch of Heracross as well. Great poster boy of the set, really, in many ways. Heracross, obviously, in the anime as well. So one of the fan favorites. Feraligatr. A lot of these cards, they just leap back nostalgia and memories as well. Again, I've done the same thing of putting 2 OVs of everything in the semi-rigids to get them graded. Just 1 metal energy by the looks of things. And then I've got a bunch in the regular top loaders that I'm not really thinking about grading for a while, but have the option to because they're all in stellar condition. But yeah, a lot of duplicates, so I'm going to try and fly through these. Just giving you a good idea, because I know people will ask if I tell them that I've opened a box and then I only show like 1 of each holo. They'll call me a liar, and I'm not one of those. There we go. Bunch of holos there. Now back towards more sort of random stuff here and there. I've got a random assortment of old school promo cards here and there. I guess I'll just go through the stack and see what's what. We've got a little p.2 from the Neo, little 9 card set. We've got another random CD promo Blastoise. I think I wanted to get more of this card. I can't remember why, but this one has a pretty dodgy left to right border, so I don't think it's ever gradable. We've got a promo Suicune, Dunsparce. I think this is I can't remember what the name of this promo is. Natawake, Primeape. Really nice. Going to steal some apples. I think this is also Natawake, Psyduck, with an actual question mark on the page, which is nice. This is, it may seem like it's another CD promo Blastoise, but you'll notice that in the middle right there, it's actually got the Squirtle symbol. So this is from the green and blue set, and you'll see I've got the accompanying Venusaur as well. It has the Bulbasaur. Green and blue set was a little, I think it was like a Japanese VHS that you got. There's a spare couple Snorlax, spare couple Porygon, or 1 Porygon. The 3 Evolution set from that 9 pocket portfolio that you can get with that p.2. And yeah, I've got some more p.2s and stuff here as well. The Entei and the Charizard. I remember actually when I was a kid, there was a phone-in like TV competition, and I actually phoned in and got that 9 pocket set and got this Charizard, and it was like the hero. He was like the trophy card of my collection when I was a kid, this guy, because I got it from a little TV phone-in. Fun fact. What do we got here? We've got some more random set cards, I guess I'll quickly nip over. Again, these at this point, I think a bunch of these are going to be some of my like childhood holos, I think. So these are all in horrible condition, just in soft sleeves. So these are just like childhood holos. Base set. I've got some. There's the Lugia that we all fought over. Looks like I ended up winning that fight, but yeah, it's real beaten up. You can see there's some creasing going on in the top right corner. Oh, it's been through a lot. But yeah, this is time-space distortion. That's a really nice holo. Sometimes it's stuff that's just from my very old childhood. Sometimes it would be like miscellaneous holos that people just throw in with other deals and stuff here and there. More gym stuff, some fossil stuff, lots of things. top loaders, I've got a couple of miscellaneous cards. I think there's just a handful of fossil packs here. The Dragonite, the Haunter, a random Dark Crobat, and again, back to that trio of evolutions. I'm definitely going to try and get these graded at some point, because I think their sort of Ruins of Alph artwork is just absolutely awesome. Then we have the more modern era stuff. I think this is modern era booster pack stuff, so set stuff. A couple of non-Japanese, actually. This is going back to German. I think this is a Rayquaza. I went to German nationals as well as Italian nationals, and we picked up some random like tins and stuff way back when. I went to commentate those tournaments, and I found these two Infernape and Empoleon tins in German, and also pulled a couple random holos here and there. Let's see. And in Italy, I pulled this Blastoise Secret Rare, which is awesome. Again, just from like random boosters at the time. A random tin and a random Aerodactyl. Lots of randomness going on, but I basically lumped all my foreign cards together. I think back to some Japanese stuff now, more Japanese. Again, it's one of those things where I've opened some of the Japanese promo cards, which we'll get onto in a minute, but obviously some of these promos come with packs, so I've even sleeved up these holos. Don't think I have any intention of really doing anything with them, but when you're as addicted to collecting as me, you still just sleeve up everything, just in case. A couple Tyranitars there, we got Tina, we got Necrozma, we got a Hydreigon Break, and I've recently purchased these two Shining cards, Shining Charizard and Shining Mewtwo. I think they're awesome artworks, obviously, and I will get these graded eventually. These are in stellar condition, and these will definitely be graded eventually. I need to find some soft sleeves for those, or some semi-rigids for those at least, because I mean, if I've got them lined up from that Volcanion, I definitely foresee me grading those ones first. A couple random, what's this, Rayquaza Break, and Primal Kyogre, and Misty and Brock there. And we'll get on to, I guess, the rest of evolutions. I actually opened 3 boxes of Japanese evolutions. Obviously, Japanese boxes are much smaller than Western boxes. I've got a couple Charizard sleeved up, and there's Charizard as well. But we've got basically, again, it's just going to be a sort of flick-through job. As we all know what's from evolutions at this point. We've got the breaks going on here. Lots of duplicates again. One of those things that just happens with Japanese packs. You just have to get used to seeing duplicates everywhere. But it's a nice little throwback set to base. And I figured, especially, this was actually the card I wanted most from the Japanese packs, because you get a Lilipad Mew holographic from the Japanese packs. I only pulled 1 from the 3 boxes, so I was fortunate to get 1 of them, to be honest. I need to get this graded, because we don't get the Lilipad Mew in the English boxes, which is a shame, really, because it's a beautiful, beautiful card in holographic. Lilipad Mew being much more of a Japanese thing than a Western thing as well, just the original promo from way back. Again, just some more miscellaneous promos going on here, more new school promos. I can't remember what tower this is, Battle Tower, something like that. Pikachu. These are just some EX promo boxes, the Jolteon and the Vaporeon. I can't remember which one came with which. I think it was that combination that the things came in. And we're coming towards the end, where I have a handful of these box promos as well. The Rayquazas, the Charizard, a couple of the Magikarp and Gyarados. I initially had the intention of getting these sort of like Poncho Pikachu things. I think these were the first ones, the Magikarp and Gyarados, at least close to the first. But then they just kept releasing more and more and more, and I got less and less interested. I thought when I first saw these were really unique and interesting pieces, but then just more and more came out, and I just got a little bit put off by them. There's the Lily promos, though. There's another Charizard one, and I can't remember what promo this is. Some sort of Pokemon Center promo. It's got some holo on the Pikachu, though. But yeah, that's my Japanese and foreign card collection, guys. Part 2 of my collection. We'll be going on to more modern era stuff in the next part, I guess. Maybe get through the early EX era and through some other stuff. Let me know if you enjoyed this once again. Not quite as interesting as my previous video. I think, like I said, my sort of best focus is on the Wizards of the Coast stuff, but still some really interesting things and maybe something you haven't seen before from some of this Japanese stuff. I know they're a little bit less on the radar and less sort of known because, you know, they weren't just around in your childhood. You'd actually have to research some of this stuff to ever see some of those sets. So yeah, nice little insight into, again, another part of my collecting. I've been very fortunate in opening a bunch of different things over the years, and I've just had a lot of time to research pretty much every card at this point. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and we'll be back with more collection stuff periodically here and there when I get the chance. So yeah, keep an eye out for that in future. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.